I live it. I breathe it. I do. I mean, I'm about it. I'm a realtor number one. I'm a real estate agent number one. If you ask me what defines me, real estate defines me.
Hey everybody, it's Dan Ratkewitch, and this is episode 6 of the Helping Hands podcast. We've got our small business edition today where we talk with local professionals and local businesses to spotlight what they're doing and what they're doing in the community, because the local businesses are what drive our economy. And our guest today is Orlando Frade of the Korman Frade Team of Douglas Elliman Real Estate.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dan.
We're going to be talking about the state of the real estate market. We're recording this in early January of 2019. So we're going to talk a little bit about the real estate market, some tips for home buyers. But before we get into all that, Orlando, why don't you tell everybody out there who doesn't know who you are, what you do, what your story is?
Well, I'm Orlando Frade. Like Dan said, I am with the Korman Frade Team. My partner Matthew Korman and I have a team of 6. The way I got into the real estate business, and I've been doing it for about 15 years now. I was actually a supervisor in construction, and did that for 14 years.
Big building, big construction.
High rises and bridge work.
Wow.
In the union. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, but as you know, it gets pretty demanding physically, and the more we did, the more they needed us to do, with less help, right? So I realized quickly I could not be doing this for 30 years, let's just say. Sure. So I'm like, I need an outlet. And I had flipped a home at that time. I was about 24, 25 when I first flipped a home. So I knew that real estate was something that I was pretty passionate about. And there was one winter that we had a really bad winter, and I was never off. But this particular winter, I was off for about a month. So I took a real estate course, thinking that it was going to give me more information on the behind the scenes of real estate, where I could maybe get better deals on homes. And I ended up taking a realtor course to get my license. So once I got there, I said, okay, I have 2 weeks of this. Let me just go through with it. My sister Helena is actually our regional manager for Douglas Elliman.
Okay.
And she's been in real estate for over 26 years. And been manager probably, I would say, somewhere between 15 to 18 years. So one day in speaking to her, basically crying my eyes out like, this sucks, I have nothing, I don't have any other skills. I had dropped out of college, right, to get into construction, into the union. So I was already 32 at the time, 33 I think, and I wasn't thinking of going back to college. So I said, what could I do, and she said, you have a great personality, why don't you go for your license, try this out, maybe you'd be good at it. And I'm like, funny you should say that. I actually have a license now. I had it for about a year, and you're allowed 2 years before you take your New York State exam.
Okay.
Before it expires, and I had it for about a year. And she's like, why don't you just go take the state test and then come work with us? So I did, and the rest is history, really. I mean, I started real estate. My wife was pregnant. My son Cameron, which you know. My wife was pregnant. She had just graduated. She went back to school, had just graduated, became a New York City school teacher that year. Okay. I decided, hey, it's a good time for me to leave my job, leave insurance, leave all my benefits behind, and jump into real estate that I don't make any money unless I sell. Right. Great idea. But you know what? In the end, it was, because it pushed me to really focus and drive myself to succeed, to do well. And honestly, I mean, it's the best decision I made.
How much do you think that beginning of that adversity helped you get started?
I think it was all of it. I honestly think that was everything behind me, or what I consider being successful, because my life has changed dramatically, complete 180. I mean, personally, with my family. What I was in was very, very stressful and very demanding. And so is this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not minimizing it at all. I mean, I'm even last night we were at the winter concert, and I'm texting people, and I'm like, I'm at the winter concert. They're like, okay, can you please get back to me as soon as it's done? Now, it's going to be 8:30, 9 o'clock by the time it's done.
Right.
I mean, there is no downtime. But it's something that I'm passionate and that I enjoy. So it's very different than having that, physical work, demanding job that you don't enjoy, that it's like, okay, now I got to get up in the morning and do this again. I never really understood do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. Because honestly, I enjoyed construction to a certain point. I did enjoy it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been in it that long. But once I got into this, I mean, I was in it and I live it, I breathe it, I do. I mean, I'm about it. I'm a realtor number one. I'm a real estate agent number one. If you ask me what defines me, real estate defines me.
Okay. That's actually what I was gonna ask you about, how what differentiates yourself from other real estate agents, but I think it's right there. I mean, it's the passion, it's the love. You love it, you live it. It's who you are.
But I think we could all say that, right? I think we could all, to a certain degree, could say that. I think at some point you have to show what does make you different, right? Because me being passionate, me loving it, doesn't mean that you, as my client, you're going to benefit from that.
Right.
I have to actually put it into action. Right.
I love listing houses. The selling part I don't like.
Selling part, I don't like dealing with people, but I love putting them up and taking nice pictures. But no, exactly. So I mean, in real estate, as you know, we're independent contractors, right? We're independent. We all work for ourselves, so we all could run our business differently. Working with Douglas Elliman, which is an amazing, amazing company, and I've been there since I've started. And one of the reasons is it really affords me to give my clients, my sellers, so much more than any other company. I mean, what they have behind me is, between marketing, I mean, everything that they do kind of elevates us and their product, which when you're selling your home, it becomes a product, and it puts it into another atmosphere. I mean, we really are elite when it comes to that. Everything we do stands out. So, getting back to what makes me different, or our team, I honestly, the one thing that has worked for me from the beginning, and this is more of a personal thing, my upbringing, what does work for me from the beginning is always putting my client first. What do I mean by saying that? We don't get paid unless we sell. That's the only time we get a paycheck, is when we're sitting at the closing table, we get a paycheck. So you can get lost in where it's like, I got to do whatever it takes to get this so I could get a paycheck, right? I have dropped and I have steered clients away from doing the wrong thing, which would benefit me greatly, because I knew that it wouldn't benefit them. I also invest in my client. I put money into my client.
I've seen, and we'll put the link in your social media stuff on here, and we'll edit it in. But on your Facebook page for the Korman Frade Team on Facebook, I see how much work and energy you guys put into staging the houses. I know on your Instagram stories a couple weeks ago, your day was going in and out, checking on the houses, see how it was going. And the before and after, I mean, it makes a huge difference, the staging.
Dan, tremendously. And that's the thing, right? So I could take your home. If you're living in it, I can't stage it, obviously. But what we do, is that correct? What we do? We can bring in a consultant, and we do bring in a consultant.
Right.
So maybe they could say, hey, move these cabinets over there, put your desk here, it'll become more airy, it'll open it up, declutter, these things need to come down, maybe you need lighter shades, or let's change this accent wall to a different color, or something like that, where for a small amount of money makes a huge difference, and when we sell it, to getting a return for your investment, honestly.
Right.
So that can work. But some people are stuck in their ways. They don't want you going in there and say, hey, move all my stuff around, and if you don't, then that's fine. That's the way we'll do it. But otherwise, if you have an empty home, people going in, and I always put myself in this situation, me as a buyer going into a beautiful empty home. I took a listing in Setauket. I'm not even from Suffolk County, but this particular listing had been on the market for 3 years, and price reduction after price reduction didn't sell. It was through a friend. I met the homeowner, was an investor. I went there. This home was gorgeous. 5 bed. I mean, every room was like a vast open room, hardwood floors, top-notch woodwork, beautiful white kitchen, center island. I think it was 3,600 square feet, wraparound porch in the front, gorgeous, absolutely
everything anybody would want.
Exactly, 2-acre property.
Wow.
I'm like, how could this not be selling? Once I walked in, I realized why it wasn't selling. The reason why it wasn't selling is when you walk in, all you see is vastness.
Right.
Your deer are running in the backyard, which is great, but it's just these vast rooms. All right, here's another big room. Here's another large room. It doesn't show function to a room, and it doesn't show what you can make that room. And there's no warmth.
Right.
That you're walking in, it's a cold feeling. You're in this huge empty home. So I went in there, staged it. When I say staging, I mean furniture, artwork, things like that, right? Plants, towels. We do all little, even the bathrooms we kind of set up.
You make it
right?
look like the potential of what it could be, like how.
So when you walk in there, you're like, wow, I could picture myself living here, right? I could see my kids running around in this playroom or in this den or watching the football game here and what have you. It shows function to rooms.
Right.
And when you're taking photos, it's completely different. It's 100% better. When you take a photo of an empty room, what do you see? An empty room. All right, great. Here's another empty room. Here's another empty room. That's all you see in a photo. So the internet, as you know now, is your front line. You have to capture the buyer there. Yeah. So with photos of this beautiful exterior, and now the interior is like empty room, empty room, empty room. You really, am I capturing you that way? Or am I saying, wow, what a beautiful den. Oh my God, look at that living room. This kitchen is gorgeous. That, now I see a reason to call my realtor or call the realtor that is at the listing agent to make an appointment to go see it or to see if there's an open house. Now I've captured you there because that's where I need to capture you. So I know it's a long-winded question, but it takes a lot. So to me, I could get you the most money for your home if I do that. And when it comes to commissions, we are not the cheapest, but we are competitive, okay? But we also invest in you, and we, without a doubt, I put my own commission on the table. I will get you a lot more money than anybody else can. I know that for a fact.
And I'm sure somebody doesn't want to be sitting there with their house on the market for 3 years going, I got the agent with the lowest commission rate.
Right.
But great.
But sometimes you fall into that, right? You can fall into that because you're thinking, oh, I'm saving, if I'm saving 1%, I'm saving, $5,000. Meanwhile, you just left 25 on the table.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Right.
Because they're doing nothing. They're putting it on multiple listing and waiting. Right. That's all they're doing for you. And this particular home sold within a month, full price. The buyer who bought it, we listed her property in Port Jefferson for $995. Sold that for full price, cash offer. Nice. So because I invested a little bit of money into this property, right? And we do pay for it. Because I invested a little bit of money into this property, I got these 2 transactions out of it. Actually 3, because I got the buyer as well. And then he referred me to his firm, which now we have a home in Wisconsin. And now I'm doing work in Suffolk County as well, because now I just keep getting more and more referrals out there from what they saw that I did for this one particular home.
Right.
And
that's how it grows. I got a question with the stage houses, when they put the bedroom in and the paintings on the wall and the rugs and redo everything, can the person that's buying the home buy those furnishings?
We've done it before, yes. Because we work with 2 stages. Beautifully staged home, Linda Leibel, and Stephanie White Interiors, Stephanie White. We work with both of them, and we've had where they come in, they have to give them a price. I'm sure they make a little bit on it, but they take the home as is and they keep it because it is their furniture. It's not rented.
Right.
They buy it.
Okay. I would think that for a little charge too. I mean, you're getting a professional designer to do it.
Correct.
Because I would walk in there and go, wait, where's all the furniture going? It's perfect.
I've had that before. I've had a woman like cry that it wasn't the home that she bought. I'm like, it is. You just have to put the furniture back in.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So how do you tell now you're talking about it? I know you have a lot of stuff on social media about
Yeah.
what you do. How can somebody out there tell what real estate agent is going to be doing what you're doing, as opposed to, because it seems like everybody and their sister-in-law is a real estate agent.
It's true.
I think I saw some ridiculous stat that there's like some ridiculous number of licensed real estate agents in New York State, but the only ones that have actually sold a house in the last year was some like tiny fraction of the amount of agents
Right.
that are out there. So they're not actually practicing, or they have it because of when.
Right.
So how can somebody go out there and while they're researching, I want to sell my house, find somebody like you that is doing, can tell that they're legit and they're doing these things for their clients?
Well, I think that recommendations, referrals are big, especially from people you know. You could also go onto their page, see their bio. You could see their history. You could look up the history of what they've sold, what they, there's different things that you could definitely, especially in today's day and age of information, you could look up people. And I don't even think that, even the reviews, you have to really dive into the reviews sometimes.
There's fake reviews too.
Exactly. So you have to really, and then there's reviews that, listen, we don't all get along with each other, and it's like, okay, I'm going to try to, mess you up here a little bit here. Let me give you, a BS one and have that stick for you for life. You know what I mean? You can get that. So I don't really count on those too much, but I do say go by what you've seen that I've listed. Maybe if you could get a hold of the homeowners, speak to them. Testimonials are great. I'm bad at that. We're starting to put up testimonials now because they're really big, and hopefully video testimonials. But I honestly hate bothering people. I hate saying, hey, even, at closings, if you notice, it's rare that you see, hey, here's your keys, here's a sign, sold by Orlando, Douglas Elliman, or the Korman Frade Team, I don't do that because I don't think it's appropriate for me at the closing table to say, hey, give me something, I need this.
Right.
But maybe you could give me, do a little video on your phone, send it to me, and maybe I could post that, right? At your time, at your convenience.
Right. Right. So we're recording this. This is the Helping Hands podcast, the small business edition. We're talking with local professionals in the area. Orlando Frade is part of the Korman Frade Team at Douglas Elliman Real Estate here on Long Island. We're recording this in January of 2019, and I wanted to get your take on the real estate market, where you see things right now.
We do a lot of business, so our finger is on the pulse. Just last year, our team did 147 transactions, which is quite a lot for 6 people, right? I see the real estate market as still being strong. What we do see a lot, though, and this goes back to not everyone being a true professional, we still do see a lot of homes saying, hey, I could sell your home for $800,000. Meanwhile, maybe your home is worth $650,000. And you as a seller, you tend to believe that person, or you want to, who doesn't want to believe that their home is worth something like that, right? If it's legitimately only worth $650,000. So what we're seeing now is a lot, still high prices, but more price reductions, things taking a little bit longer to sell if they're not priced right.
Okay.
Before, even if you could legitimately take a chance and overprice something by 25,000 and probably get an over ask price
Because everything was going.
because it was going immediately. Right now, the buyers are sitting back a little bit. For one reason is because now interest rates are up. I think they're just right around 5 or just over 5. They had come down a couple of weeks ago, back down to about 4.5, which I still think anything in the 5s is very good. But we're so conditioned that to 3%, 3.5, 3 3/4, even 4, that now 5 seems like something ridiculous.
Right.
But it's not. It really isn't. But the truth of the matter is, when interest rates go up, pricing will come down because they have to make up that that gap
in their budget, right?
Right, in their budget, exactly. So we do see interest rates going up. That means pricing has to come down. We see things being longer on the market if they're not priced right, and we're seeing more price reductions. I do not see a fall. I do not see a downturn like we did in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons is in 2008, I think that it was more of a lending problem than it was it became a housing problem because of the lending problem.
Yeah, nobody could get a loan. You could have perfect credit, and it was extremely difficult to get a loan.
Exactly. And the reason being is because before that, anyone could get a loan. Right. Even your dog Rex could get a loan.
He's got a nice house.
Exactly. He could have probably refied for a couple of thousand. I'm telling you, back then they were just giving them away. So that's where it became a housing problem, right? Where they're not doing that anymore. You have to have a great job, great credit score, show your income, show your tax returns. How long have you been there? Make good money. You're going to have to stay within your budget. You're not going to buy a $600,000 home if you could afford a $350,000.
Right.
It's not going to happen. You're not getting that.
Which is just the way it should be. Why,
Right. So to me, I think that's exactly how it should be. And that's how it's healthy. It stays healthy. So I do see it being healthy.
Inventory? Where?
Inventory is still, there's a little bit more.
Okay.
And in the spring, we'll probably see even more.
Right.
And here's another tip. A lot of people wait for the spring to list their homes. Understand that in the spring, you're going to have a lot more competition.
Right.
Than you would in the winter. And in the winter, whoever is looking needs to buy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Now you are serious home buyers.
100%. No one's coming out in this cold.
Right.
Right now, it's 26 degrees. Nobody's coming out to look at a house if they're not interested in buying a home.
Right.
In the summer, there's nothing to do. Let's go look at some open houses. Let's go, let's see what the market's like. Maybe I'll sell in a year or 2 years or 3 years. Let me get myself informed. Something like that.
Right.
Right.
Okay. I want to keep this going because I know you got an appointment. You got big stuff going on.
Sorry, I talk a lot.
No. It's all good. It's all good stuff. I want to talk to you about because we get a lot of clients that are first-time home buyers, and they'll have a renter's policy with us, and they'll be transitioning to buy a home. We're looking for a home. They'll try and get prices from us, and they don't know really what steps to take going forward. So a new home buyer, what are some things? You have some tips for new home buyers?
Absolutely. I honestly think you should work with a real estate agent, a professional, a true professional. They're gonna help you out, advise you, because it's an advocate. You should also have representation, right? The seller has representation. Why wouldn't you want representation as a buyer, right? So that buyer should have an interview process. Maybe take some referrals. Can anyone refer me a couple of agents in the areas I'm trying to look at, that I'm interested in, that might interview them. See if they're a fit for you to work with. Getting yourself pre-approved, knowing what your budget is, where you want your budget. Your budget might be, a very high budget, but maybe you don't want to be spending that kind of money. Maybe you want to keep it with your mortgage payment $2,500 a month, no more than that. So know what $2,500 a month is going to bring you. The other thing I would say with new home buyers that can be very confusing to them is that if you don't have 3 to 4 specific towns that you want to live in, if you just have a broad area that you want to live in, I think you're going to be looking for a long time, and the process is going to be intimidating and it's going to be frustrating.
Okay.
Because if you have 10 different towns that you want to live in, they're all very different.
Right.
They all different price. They have different things to offer, different taxes. So it's very difficult as a realtor to have someone who's like, oh, anywhere in Nassau. Well, Nassau is huge.
Right.
Sometimes you're going North Shore, South Shore. They're very different.
Sure.
They're not the same. So you should know where you want to live. I think you should do a little bit research on the towns to know exactly where you want to live. And most people do. But sometimes as a first-time home buyer, you're just like, your eyes are wide open and you're like, oh, just show me everything.
Right.
All it's going to do is confuse you. And maybe even kind of intimidate you to the point where you're like, let me hold back a little bit. The other thing I would say is it's the best decision that you're making is being a homeowner. And I think that buying a home, purchasing a home, is like anything else. It's like getting married. It's like having a baby. We're never ready for it. You never have enough money saved. You just have to do it. Because when you do it, you'll figure it out. And that's just going to be a great investment. Anyone who's successful, the one thing that I know, every person that I know that is successful, that has any kind of wealth, they all own real estate. And that is your first step into becoming an investor and having some kind of collateral, right? And once a home appreciates, maybe you're in it for 5, 6, 7 years, you could sell that, make some money on it, and upgrade. That's the best way to do it. So that would be my tips as first-time home buyer.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And then we'll close. We close all these with the question of the day. You are our guest, so you can have the question of the day, and we'll throw it out there to everybody. And if there's a answer in the comments, and it's good information for Orlando to look at how he can improve his practice, go through his practice, and what's the question?
I would ask everyone who's listening, what is the one thing, maybe in a sentence or in a word, what is the one thing that you're looking for in a realtor? What is that one thing? If you were to say, I'm interviewing real estate agents in order to either sell or buy, what is that one thing that I'm looking for? Something that would be the game changer, that would, have you hire me instead of Dan, or hire Dan instead of me. That's what I would like to know, because I think that would help me understand a little bit better, maybe of the mindset of the consumer.
Right. Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on. And I think a lot of valuable information that we were able to get out there.
Awesome.
Thanks.